Welcome to Scary Campfire Stories. My name is Kyle Hester and I will be your host. You can support the author of this story by clicking the link in the description. And please, subscribe to the channel. Now make yourself comfortable. Let's begin, shall we?
The Axeman of New Orleans was an American serial killer, active in New Orleans, Louisiana from May 1918 to October 1919. Press reports during the height of public panic about the killings mentioned similar murders as early as 1911. The Axeman was never identified, and the murders remain unsolved. The Axeman had a certain way about taking care of his victims. The victims were usually attacked with an axe, which often belonged to the victims themselves. In most cases, a panel on a back door of a home was removed by a chisel, which along with the panel was left on the floor near the door. The intruder then attacked one or more of the residents with either an axe or a straight razor. The crimes were not motivated by robbery, and the perpetrator never removed items from the victims' homes. The majority of the Axeman's victims were Italian immigrants or Italian Americans, leading many to believe that the crimes were ethnically motivated. Many media outlets sensationalized this aspect of the crimes, even suggesting mafia involvement despite lack of evidence. Some crime analysts have suggested that the killings were related to sex, and that the murder was perhaps a sadist, specifically seeking female victims. Criminologists Colin and Damon Wilson think that the Axeman killed male victims only when they obstructed his attempts to murder women, supported by cases in which the woman of the household was murdered but not the man. A less plausible theory is that the killer committed murders in an attempt to promote jazz music, suggested by a letter attributed to the killer in which he stated that he would spare the lives of those who played jazz in their homes. Interesting. One of his victims, Joseph Maggio, was an Italian grocer who was attacked on May 23, 1918, while sleeping alongside his wife, Catherine, at their home on the corner of Upper Line and Magnolia Streets, where they conducted a ballroom and grocery. The killer broke into the home and then proceeded to cut the couple's throats with a straight razor. Upon leaving, he bashed their heads with an axe, perhaps in order to conceal the real cause of death. Joseph survived the attack, but died minutes after being discovered by his brothers Jake and Andrew Maggio. Catherine died prior to the brothers' arrival. In the apartment, law enforcement agents found the bloody clothes of the murderer, as he had obviously changed into a clean set of clothes before fleeing the scene. A complete search of the premises was not completed by police officers until the bodies were removed, yet later, the bloody razor was found on the lawn of a neighboring property. Police ruled out robbery as motivation for the attacks, as money and valuables left in plain sight were not stolen by the intruder. The razor used to kill the couple was found to belong to Andrew Maggio, the brother of the deceased who conducted a barber shop on Camp Street. His employee, Esteban Torres, told police that Maggio had removed the razor from his shop 2 days prior to the murder, explaining that he had wanted to have a nick honed from the blade. Maggio, who lived in the adjoining apartment to his brother's residence, discovered his slain brother and sister-in-law roughly 2 hours after the gruesome attacks had occurred, upon hearing strange groaning noises through the wall. Maggio blamed his failure to hear any noise related to the attacks that had occurred. Police, however, were nonetheless surprised that he failed to hear the intruder as he made a forced entry into the home. Again, Andrew Maggio became the police chief's prime suspect in the crime, yet was released after investigators were unable to break down his statement, as well as his account of an unknown man who was supposedly seen lurking near the residence prior to the murders. Catherine Maggio was the wife of Joseph Maggio. Her throat was cut so deeply that her head was nearly severed from her shoulders. Another victim. Louis Bessemer and his mistress Harriet Lowe were attacked in the early morning hours of June 27, 1918, in the quarters at the back of his grocery, which was located at the corner of Dorgenon and Le Harpe Streets. Bessemer was struck with a hatchet above his right temple, which resulted in a possible skull fracture. Lowe was hacked over the left ear and found unconscious when the police arrived at the scene. The couple was discovered shortly after 7 a.m. on the morning of the attack by John Zanka, a driver of a bakery wagon who had come to the grocery store to make a routine delivery. Zanka found both Bessemer and Lowe in a puddle of their own blood, both bleeding from their heads. The axe, which had belonged to Bessemer himself, was found in the bathroom of the apartment. Bessemer later stated to police that he had been sleeping when he was bashed with the hatchet. Almost immediately, police arrested potential suspect Louis Ubicon, and then 41-year-old African-American man who had been employed in Bessemer's store just a week before the attacks. No evidence existed which could have proven the man guilty, yet police arrested him nonetheless, stating that Ubicon had offered conflicting accounts of his whereabouts on the morning of the attack. Shortly after the attempted murder, Lowe stated that she remembered having been attacked by a mulatto man, yet her statement was discounted by police due to her disillusioned state. Robbery was said to have been the only possible explanation for the attacks, yet no money or valuables were removed from the couple's home. Ubicon was later released as police were unable to gather sufficient evidence to hold him accountable for the crimes. Media attention soon turned to Bessemer himself, as a series of letters written in German, Russian, and Yiddish were discovered in a trunk at the man's home. Police suspected that Bessemer was a German spy, and government officials began a full investigation of his potential espionage. Weeks later, after going in and out of consciousness, Harriet Lowe told police that she thought Bessemer was in fact a German spy, which led to his immediate arrest. 2 days later, Bessemer was released, and 2 lead investigators of the case were demoted due to unacceptable police work. Bessemer was once again arrested in August 1918 after Harriet Lowe, who lay dying in Charity Hospital after a failed surgery, stated it was he who had attacked her more than a month previous with his hatchet. He was charged with murder and served 9 months in prison before being acquitted on May 1, 1919, after a 10-minute jury deliberation. The Axeman was never caught or identified, and his crime spree stopped as mysteriously as it had started. On March 13, 1919, a letter purporting to be from the Axeman was published in newspapers saying that he would kill again at 15 minutes past midnight on the night of March 19th, but would spare the occupants of any place where a jazz band was playing. You'll get a sense of what the Axeman is like from his letter. Hottest hell, March 13, 1919. Esteemed mortal of New Orleans, the Axeman. They have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible. Even as the ether that surrounds your earth, I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. When I see fit, I shall come claim your victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe, besmeared with blood and brains, and he whom I have sent below to keep me company. If you wish, you may tell the police to be careful not to rile me. Of course, I am a reasonable spirit. I take no offense at the way they have conducted their investigations in the past. In fact, they have been so utterly stupid as to not only bemuse me, but His Satanic Majesty, Francis Joseph, etc. But tell them to beware. Let them not try to discover what I am. For if it were better that they were never born than to incur the wrath of the Axeman, I don't think there is any need of such a warning, for I feel sure the police will always dodge me, as they have in the past. They are wise, and know how to keep away from all harm. Undoubtedly, you Orleanians think of me as a most horrible murderer, which I am, but I could be much worse if I wanted to. If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night. At will, I could slay thousands of your best citizens, and the worst, for I am in close relationship with the angel of death. Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time, on next Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I am going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If everyone has a jazz band going, well, then, so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of your people who do not jazz it out on that specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. Well, as I am cold and crave the warmth of my native Tartarus, and it is about time I leave your earthly home, I will cease my discourse, hoping that thou wilt publish this, that it may go well with thee. I have been, am, and will be the worst spirit that ever existed, either in fact or in realm of fantasy. Sincerely, the Axeman. If you've enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you can, it'd be so helpful if you could just contribute to the Patreon and help us keep independent film alive. That's how we're going to do this, my friends. Thank you so much. Let's keep going.